All right, guys, here I am with Chaim. I think some of you have probably seen him before on one or two videos. He's probably, you've uploaded, I think, more videos, more explanations.
While they cower behind their masks and hide who they are, we stand tall and proudly and voice our message to the world. Israel is not going anywhere. The Jewish people are not going anywhere.
This guy's killing it. Like literally almost every day there's a video going out, which is awesome because he's really informing the masses around the world, because there's so much misinformation, there's so many lies. There are people right now on campuses all over the United States, in Europe, on the streets in Europe that you're not hearing about, in Germany, in France, rioting.
It's true.
Just going crazy because they feel the need to free Palestine. So Chaim is in a special unit that deals with some of the biggest threats that my guys face and most of the military faces when we go into war with the bad guys. And the bad guys is Hamas.
Right.
Chaim's not a bad guy. He's got kids, he's got family, like me. We have kids, we have families. We live for peace.
We do, and I think people they need to stand up for truth. You think it's soon Holocaust Memorial Day. What is it, on Monday coming up? And you realize the kind of feeling when the Hitler Youth were out there and Goebbels, Joseph Goebbels, and he was pushing these lies. And I think it was him that coined the term: if you just keep pushing a lie enough, people will believe it.
If you keep repeating the lie enough times, people will believe it. Exactly.
We're seeing that right now as we are in a defensive war for our families to protect our country. What do people want us to just say? Okay, let's just let terror run free and run rampant, and the children kidnapped, and if the shepherds don't take their shepherd sticks and defend the flock from the wolves will smell the blood and they just will go and continue massacring, and I call it the zombie apocalypse, the Nazi zombie apocalypse. And right when there was a few heroes who stood up, though. There was a few in the time
Bonhoeffer,
yes,
being one that comes to mind.
Yeah, Corrie ten Boom. She says, I'm going to risk my life to stand. Casper, her dad, and said, take me too then. And there was many, and even those who stood for Israel. 7th Earl of Shaftesbury, Lord Shaftesbury. Many who said, we're going to stand in the gap. These are heroes. And I'm thinking,
because it wasn't popular.
It wasn't popular then.
And like right now, guys, here's what's popular: to color your hair in whatever obnoxious color to draw lots of attention and be like, check me out, whatever, or whatever the purpose is. I don't know. I don't care. But clearly, somebody's trying to make a statement. Somebody's trying to draw attention. But like people like us, normal people, we really don't care about drawing attention to ourselves.
No.
We're not trying to be loud, obnoxious. So notice the difference, right? Notice what Chaim and I are doing. We're stepping up to the plate in order to defend our families. Chaim has been serving for over 200 days of military service, guys, away from his family and kids with short breaks in between. Do you really think he wants to keep staying away from his family and do all these atrocities against Palestinians, like the media?
That's what they're
in
saying.
some cases, and some of these people on these campuses are saying.
And what would they do?
Is that something you want to do?
Is not,
I don't think so.
They need to put themselves in the shoes. What would they do? What would they do if America was attacked? What if England was attacked by extremist radicals? What would you do? You would stand up for your family and you'd protect them. But here's what I'm thinking is the halls of what is your legacy when you die? What is your legacy? One who cowered back, who was afraid, and fear is a real thing. It's a real thing right now for people. They don't want to be put on the spot. They don't want to be canceled. They don't. It's not popular. So I get that. But yet, this is the time to stand. And if you don't stand now, then when? If not us, then who? If not now, then when? And I think there's praying people out there who are going to see a victory in prayer and then taking action. I think there's Wednesday night groups that can get together and hold up these shepherds, hold up the people who are standing on and putting their life on the line to defend Israel. And I think there'll be a new future for Gaza too. I do. I think one day.
And just so you understand, when he says put your life on the line, Chaim and I both understand, because we have spent, like I said, many days. He has more than me by quite a bit. But the point is, we've both been into the pit of hell. You can't understand what I'm saying when I say that. It doesn't, for most of y'all, when you're hearing what I'm saying, it doesn't really compute what that means. But anybody who has been to war, anyone who has had to fight an enemy that plays dirty and that lures you into all kinds of dirty tactics to get as many of you killed and they've tried to kill us multiple times. They've tried to kill Chaim and his team multiple times. And we have been living through months of not knowing if this will be the last time, if I'm going to get to see my wife and kids, my friends and family, etc. This could be the last mission. That's been the reality for many of us here on the front lines of this war against terror, which, by the way, is a war to fight the terror that will end up in your back doorstep if people like us don't stand up. And guess what? It's already happening. Look at the college campuses all over America. What is the message that's being? It's pro-Islamic, jihadist. It doesn't represent Islam. I have a lot of good friends who are Muslim. It doesn't represent them. They're like, these guys, why are you wearing a keffiyeh in either the red or the white and the different color schemes that represent a particular tribe in the Middle East? You don't live in the Middle East. You're not from that place. Why are you wearing what's the deal? And then misrepresenting these Muslims who do live here peacefully, quietly. And they want Chaim and I to fight Hamas, to destroy Hamas. In fact, there was a Palestinian on CNN the other day from Gaza, who got away in 2023. So in the beginning of the war that happened in October, he was able to get out, and he's been in asylum in, I think it was England. Don't quote me on that. But he was being interviewed on CNN, and the reporter is in the studio, in his air-conditioned studio, nice suit, whatever, and you have this Palestinian guy trying in his broken English to explain, I want Hamas done away with. I want the IDF to end those guys, and I want the hostages go back home. And he says, and he's trying to explain. He says, well, what do you think about these protests and pro-Palestine on campuses? Is what the interviewer was asking. And he says, at the beginning, I was like, great, people are standing up for us in the beginning. But he said, but then when they're quoting anti-Semitic slurs and anti-Israel slurs, he said, no, I'm not about that. He's like, no, that doesn't represent me. So here's a Palestinian from Gaza, where we're fighting, and if you want to free Palestine, it's guys like us who will defeat Hamas to free Palestine. That's if you can get that in your heads. For some of you, I know it's a little difficult. Forgive me if I'm being a little sarcastic, but how dumb do you have to be to understand that you're standing in support of Hamas? Hamas is a terrorist organization that raped, murdered our families. The worst genocide against Jews since the Holocaust, and you're gonna wave their flag and support them.
I feel there's a massive delusion that's going around the world, and people don't understand what a delusion it is, and that's why standing in the gap and speaking truth is so important. My heart actually goes out to some of these people. That one Air Force serviceman who lit himself on fire, and he said, free Palestine, he burned himself to death.
How sad is that?
And it's so sad, because I'm sure if he knew, if he knew the facts, what was actually going on, he wouldn't do that. And this, a strong delusion, lawlessness, a time of lawlessness. But sometimes the darkest times are the times when you will shine the brightest as a light. So keep being a light and keep us in prayer. Yes, gather on a Wednesday, have people over for pizza, and really pray. And really, I think people should share the videos that are speaking the truth, that are bringing to light the actual reality. And these Palestinians have been under the fist of Hamas for far too long. The indoctrination. These kids were, when 2005, you remember there's a big pullout of all Jewish people. That was actually my first time going into the army, and I said, I'm not pulling any Jewish person out. It's against the Bible. But what I did do is I said, I'm going to help remove some of the stuff of Jewish people. I was very sad to even have, and I put an orange ribbon, and they said, you can't do that. I was just new in the army. I didn't know what was going on. But every Jewish person was pulled out, including the bodies of Jewish people. We left the infrastructure. We left buildings.
Those who were buried there is what it means,
even the bodies of dead Jewish people in a grave from 21 cities, settlements and stuff, the Katif conglomerate and many others, and they were pulled out. But look what happened, the fruit of that. The guy who decided that, Ariel Sharon, he goes into a coma. Heaven didn't want him, hell didn't want him. He was held there until he finally died. But what it was is that you see these young people that were there in this beautiful beach strip of area, which is getting like over 100 million, is it per month? 150 million per month or something insane amounts of money. Imagine you show up with one suitcase to Syria in the Civil War. You'd be a giant hero. Here's $1 million. I'm talking well over $100 million all the time, regularly from all kinds of places, including America and Saudi and everywhere. So what happens is the fruit of that wasn't what the Oslo Accords thought it would be at all. Those young people are now older. They're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. They're in that age range. They started in 2005, their careers, and what do you have? You have indoctrinated. And so if we don't want that stuff to happen to our own Western society, we have to recognize this is the tipping point. This is the moment.
It's a pitfall that people will fall into.
Yes. And it's just based on lies and those social justice warriors out there. I would suggest, one, start getting it. Don't be in I call it the algorithm fed cage, where you're just, oh, did you click hate Jews? Well, here's one about how to become a Nazi, and here's another great feed you'd like called Why Hitler Was Right. No, you're trapping yourself in an indoctrination thing. Best thing is to try to look around and see other sources of people who are speaking truth, and also connect with real people.
Or maybe not speaking truth the way you understand it, but at least examine what we're saying, right?
That's right.
Because if you examine what we're saying, match it up to historic facts that you can look up. I'll give you, so somebody was debating me the other day on my own page, and they thought, they could just get away with being real cheeky and real smirky and whatever. And then I was not very patient with them, because I'm like, look, I'm right now deployed. I don't have time to be nice to you. You don't want to be nice to me. You don't respect me as a human being. No problem. Here's some, and I laid in hard to this guy or gal, depending on their, and I just said, listen, because they claimed that we stole land and this and that. Jews came and they stole from Palestinians. I said, listen, all the 22 Arab states that have created post-World War I were created because of the League of Nations. Look it up. San Remo, 1920, is when the state of Israel was recognized as the Jewish homeland for Jews. So in other words, all the tribes that live in the Middle East, where we live, that were under the rule of those powers of World War I, they divvied up the lands and they created countries like Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, etc. All of these is post-World War I, for those who are not aware of the history of the Middle East. And we are the one and only Jewish state out of this huge swath of land. And then the Arabs from those countries came here because it was better for them. It was better. There was Jewish entrepreneurship.
We had drained the swamps. We had got rid of the poisonous land and retilled it and put fertilizer and made the desert bloom.
We brought electric companies here. We brought all kinds of industry that created jobs, that created a influx of Arabs from those countries that had already been recognized. So to say that we stole their land is ignorance of history. You're ignoring the international law that was created by these nations who had control of these lands because of war, and they were the ones that decided what would be, etc. And we're living with the ramifications of that. So to claim that Israel is somehow this colonialist whatever, they were the colonialists. And they were the ones that left the mess behind, and we're trying to fix it with the best way we know possible to move forward. And there's no other country in the Middle East where you have Jewish representation in their parliaments out of all those 22 Arab countries. In Israel, we have Arab, Druze, Christian representation in our government. In contrast.
That's right. There's a real re-indigenization, if that's a word, re-indigenization happening. Even people that are said, I didn't realize I was actually, and because you have they call it the whitewashing of everything, but really there's also brownwashing that happened with the Muslim Brotherhood and with just Islam taking over Iran. It's like, no, we are Persian. Oh no, you're not Persian anymore. You have to bow down to Muhammad. Well, it's like, but we were Iraqi. We had some Babylonian hanging gardens here. No, none of that. Hey, we had some pyramids. We had some, no. But and then they say that we are white colonialists. So we say, well, no. We are the indigenous people of the land, the ancient Hebrew people returning to our indigenous homeland. You know who gets it? Indigenous people like Hawaiians, the people that are Inuits, for example, also
Native Americans in the States. Some of the few
get it.
That are like standing there by themselves with these protesters or anti-Israel, pro-Palestine. They're like, hey, I'm a Native American and I'm pro the Jews being in their native land, because they get it.
And you know what else they get, which I really appreciate, to anyone who's native out there? sacred lands. They get sacred lands. They get that. Hey, the Holy Land is a sacred land in Jerusalem. The capital is God's actual promised land. Now you could say, hey, you're just talking Bible text that you wrote anyway as Jewish people. But you could also say, well, look at also the political, the agricultural, historical, and see how the Bible is true in actual archaeology as well. And that you dig anywhere in the land, you find, even in Gaza, and you find Hebrew, which is just amazing. But I want to say, as I sign off, I'm going to have to go do a maneuver right here with our team as we're preparing for quite a big operation that you know of. So here's what it is one, hey, keep in prayer the people, connect with the people, the indigenous people of the land. And you know what? There's going to be a great aliyah, I believe. Aliyah means the return of the Jewish people to the indigenous homeland. That's going to start happening, predicted by the Jewish Agency, 1 million in the next couple of years, few years, 1 million people. So waves, connect with Jewish people in your community. Why don't you really connect also with the future that the Bible says, Arab and Jew will be together, Isaiah 19, will be together in peace. But the blockades to peace and appeasement of terror, that's not the way to get to peace. So look for God's plan for peace. Appeasement of a bully, is al-Din al-Qassam, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS. Appeasement is not the way to peace.
No, we got to shut the terrorists / bullies down. And restore peace, and that's the only way to do it. Unfortunately, if there was a better way, we would do it. Trust me, we would find that.
Right.
We're people of peace.
God bless you.
Yep, guys, thank you for listening to our little rambling here, but this is some truth from the front lines of those who are here fighting this war against terror. And I hope you guys will follow everything that Chaim is doing. He is putting out a lot of truth out there for you all from the front lines as it's happening. And you guys know what I'm doing on my podcast, talking about peace in the Middle East. My last interview was with an Arab Christian from Lebanon, my neighbor, where I grew up during those wars that we had with them. And you can see what she had to say as a Christian Arab growing up as my neighbor, who is supposed to be my enemy.
Right.
All right, guys, peace out. Thank you for listening. Shalom from Israel.